with a yo-ho-ho. It's Tale of the Toaster. What are we going to talk about today? Maybe that Inazuma 11 Aries series. We do a lot of that over here. This episode is not going to contain any football, or at least not any matches, which in theory gives me less to say, but I also do really appreciate these episodes. They're just, obviously with the 26 episode of runtime of Aries and a lot of matches to get in. We didn't get many like this throughout the season, but this is one that I have been asking for since the beginning. We are getting the Maxime episode. Remember the captain of Raimon? We're in the semi-finals now, and only here are we going to get anything about the captain. He did fancy footwork in the previous match, but that was also, at this point, 3 episodes ago, because Alia had a lot to go over. Yeah, so we've got the Maxime colours on, just the most basic brown and greens we could find, and we're going to talk about him for pretty much a full episode. I mentioned that we're in the semi-finals, and that's important because there were 2 teams that this could have been, based on the kind of introductory cutscene we got at the Football Frontier opening ceremony. I mean, there was always a chance that maybe they'd drop a surprise team on us down the line, but there were 2 options, either Luna Prime Academy, the one that Heath Moore is on, or we have Everytown Junior High, a team who were only really shown in the shadows, or at least we saw them, but then their captain was mysterious and concealed. I mean, who could he be in this red headband that's such a legendary goalkeeper captain? Yeah, they're doing a real strange job. To say that season 1 of Inazuma is like, it's pre-context to Aries, right? You don't have to have seen it, but I think people know who Mark Evans is, but this entire episode and the season leading up to it, it's just trying to pretend like he's some kind of surprise and that you should be shocked when it turns out to be Mark Evans. But for now, the point is, yes, I've kind of given it away, but we will be playing against the legendary goalkeeper Mark Evans' team of Everytown Junior High in the semi-finals. And this was actually an incorrect guess from my end, because I thought it was going to be Luna Prime in the semi-finals and then Everytown in this one. It was a 50-50 shot. They either go for the more stereotypical villain type team as the final boss, or they go for the actual Mark Evans hero on hero cinematic parallels kind of thing. And given that Little Gigantes was the final match of season 3, I thought they were going to kind of do that again and make Everytown the actual final boss, especially when they've gone so far their way to conceal Mark from history. But nope, it's the semi-final, so let's get ready for it. So like I said before, there's going to be no football, so we actually take a bit of time to walk around Raimon Town. And this is nice. It looks kind of like it does in Go with the shopping alley, so I appreciate tying those eras together, if indeed it was intentional, but it did look like the arcade from there. So we get some cameos as well, like the Outer Code hairdresser is visible in the streets. When they get back to Raimon, all of Regina's cohorts, as they were from the student council who were slagging Raimon off before, now they're allowed to like them, and they're calling back to how these guys have never liked us. And I'm just thinking, well, they also haven't appeared in an episode since the first 3, but that's the way. That's the real reason, right? When we have a match that has a first half that goes on forever and then a second half that's like 3 minutes long, it's to make room for some screen time for Regina Mulgrave's friends, right? No, but they're here anyway, writing love letters to Kiko and being Cliff's #1 fan and that kind of thing. The main thing, though, is Mr. Yi, because, yeah, Everytown may have Mark Evans, a legendary captain. We certainly don't over in Raimon. But at least we've got Mr. Yi as a coach. He's good. He's leaving. Sorry, what? He's leaving. He says for a family emergency, which he says in complete seriousness, by the way. You're not meant to doubt it at first, but he says because of a family emergency, he must return home. He doesn't actually say where home is, funnily enough. He is from China. It's like, clearly based on his outfit, there's nowhere else it could have been, but I was just thinking, I don't know, maybe they're keeping it mysterious on purpose, because he's actually like just a mysterious spy sent in from somewhere across the world, because they really made this guy out to be suspicious in his first couple of episodes, and that's very much gone away until here, I guess, where he reads out a heartfelt letter to his team on how they can beat Everytown Junior High, and then his partner Natasha turns up in a Hawaiian shirt and they just run for the hills. It's like, oh, some family emergency that was. But I appreciate just getting a chance to have a bit more Mr. Yi characterization, and the main point of this is that with the coach gone, the kind of instructional role for the semi-finals falls to our captain. And this is when we remember that our captain is Maxime Dassier, and he's such an entity, and as an Inazuma character, we have to go on a full ramble about him here, otherwise there'd be nothing else to say. But he collects everything from lots of previous captains, but just without any of the standout qualities. Like, he's a midfielder, just like Ricardo. He's got the long hair, also like Ricardo. So yeah, long hair and the constant frowning. That's a Ricardo trait. We appreciate that one, I guess. The fashion sense has come from nowhere. Like we said, we're repping that one. But and I guess there's even more stuff to come that we can't even say yet. But he's just, as a player, he was in fancy footwork. Like, what's he pulling from Mark or Arian? Probably not. I guess he's basically just a B-Tech Ricardo without the piano playing skills, or the girls chasing after him, or the music theme, or anything that made Shindo as good as he was. TaleOfTheToaster just using a Japanese name for an Inazuma 11 Go character? What has happened to me? Changing times. But yeah, so he's got to look after the team now. Good luck. So, in a letter that he was given by Mr. Yi, he is given some instructions on how to set up a new 3-player special move. It's going to be a shooting move, and it's going to feature Sonny and Basil, because of course it does. Like, Ares has too many forwards on the opposing teams. Like, right, pretty much all of the captains are forwards. Aphrodite isn't yet. Sean Frost did not need to be a forward, but they made him one anyway, alongside Aiden and Kevin and Bunny and all of that. Hunter Foster is also a forward. He moved back to midfield for a bit, but yeah, he's definitely a forward. Okay, so Everytown is going to be an exception to the rule, but even, you know, before the Nationals, blessing our lucky stars for Akaris to be anyone that's not a forward captain. But yeah, like, you think about Raimon, they've got Basil Hardy, who still, at the semi-finals, has only Fire Tornado as his shooting move. It's grown ridiculously stale now. Adriano is a forward, but he still doesn't have any moves at all. Then Sonny is a forward, but he's never really felt like one. He's always played more like a midfielder that happens to be up front. I mean, he does have some good shots, I'll give him that, but it's never really felt like one. So it's like, yeah, the only team without a proper forward is Raimon. I guess. How did we end up in this situation? And what was I talking about it for again? Oh yeah, just to say, yep, it's a shooting move, so it's just got to drag Sonny and Basil into it for another 3-person. I guess that's one more way to eliminate the chances of Polar Bear number 2, because at this point I'm not going to take it for granted that it's done. It probably will happen another 3 times in 2 matches. 2 matches? Well, what if Raimon doesn't get to the final? Oh, but anyway, so Maxime, he's got this letter. The practice for the special move isn't going too well, but when he slumps off back to Windsor Manor, we learn that he's gotten another letter from Mr. Yi, and well, he's already... The characters in this episode are saying what we were all thinking. Like, here's a direct quote from Cesar Montalban, the blue-haired glasses guy. He says, "Don't you think it would be better to focus on your own training, Captain, instead of actually acting like a captain all of a sudden?" It's like, whoa! If any character has had less involvement in this storyline than Maxime, it's Cesar himself. I don't think we really want anything from him, whereas Maxime... yeah, we did need something from the captain, but wow. And Basil says something as well to make it sound like he's not a valid captain. And I'm like, if they're going to wait until the semi-finals to give the captain anything to do, I'm glad they're at least self-aware and fully soaking up. Yeah, this guy's not a brilliant captain. And he admits it as well, especially after reading the letter from Mr. Yi, which I'm just going to do word for word. The letter says, "Everyone did their very best, but you won't be able to win the next one. Please console everyone when you lose. Maxime, you are the captain." That's the letter, which again, I'm glad has been fully dubbed in English wording on screen. I always want to give credit for that one, but as if this guy didn't feel bad enough. Please console everyone when you lose. Mr. Yi is one of my favourite characters for a reason. Maxime, bless him, he didn't quite make the top 100, but, you know, this is his moment, and it's not going very well for him. He even shows the letter to Sonny. But at this point, we're basically left to wonder. There's two ways this can go, right? Either Maxime has a bit of a moment, and then he becomes a good captain in the next match, while he's already scared and envious of Mark Evans, an actual known captain. Or he just totally admits defeat and then we pass it over to someone like Sonny. So, you know, I'd already bodged the prediction on whether it was going to be Lunar Prime or Everytown next, so what was I thinking at this point in time? I was probably leaning towards the give up for good, to be honest. I don't really remember. But, well, we'll see, won't we? There's not much left to go, but after Regina Mulgrave's cohorts got a little appearance in this episode, I guess she can have a moment as well. She catches up to Dusk from Lunar Prime Academy, so again, maybe it won't be Lunar Prime in the final, maybe it'll be whoever they're playing against in the semi-finals. Ivy Selective Deluxe, they could be the finalists. But yeah, so she goes to ask this guy who's meant to be Heath's best friend and closest companion, you know, how's his illness? The poor guy didn't even know. It's like, how did you not know, dude? You're with him all the time. You can't leave him alone. He's very frustrated that Heath would say this to someone like Regina and not to him. But the pure idea of having Regina and Dusk in a solo screen, a solo moment in an episode together, I'm not sure what the fandom would know what to do with this, because when I've seen people suggesting who they think is kind of Heath's one true partnership, it's not Regina very often, I'll say that very much. Well, I guess the writing here is saying that he's putting more trust in Regina, but surely not, right? He must just be protecting Dusk's feelings, but well, that's a bit of a shoddy way for him to find out that his closest friend is dying. And with that, we kind of go over to the match, except we don't see anything of it. We just arrive at the stadium and we get some establishing shots of Mark. Like, he's been such an entity in this one. Like, spoilers, this is what the protagonist of the entire series looks like. Who would have known? But they're all they're just showing like his feet, and he stamps the ground and some dust comes off it, or maybe he's tightening the headband from behind. It's not giving everyone a thumbs up, I can say that for sure. Oh man, that is... Who says you can't film videos on a phone, eh? That's some good... That's some quality, and then you've got to take it away and go back to me again. But yeah, even at the very end of the episode, it's like, he's here in the tunnel. What will he do? Will we finally see Mark turn around? And this was facing away from me from my perspective, but for you guys it was just there, so... We're zooming in on Mark. Maybe we'll get to see his face and a cheeky wink at the end of the episode. But no, episode just ends. We still don't get to see what he looks like. We've even seen the panda sponsor on his shirt at this point, which seems unusual for him. Probably skimmed over the fact that he's built this entire Everytown team from scratch, by the way, as a football ambassador. This is what an ambassador's meant to do. Just build people up from the ground up and make them good at football. If anyone was going to do it, it's this guy. But... we'll have to keep calling him this guy because we don't know what he looks like. He could turn around and be Hector Helio for all we know. But we'll find out in the next one. Will Maxime become a good captain? Will Raimon be able to defeat Everytown and move on to face Ivy Selective Deluxe in the final? Will Basil maybe get a new special move, please? Could Cliff have a new special move, please? Can Cesar do anything, or can he just leave? Will Raimon ever get a substitute player? There's a lot of questions, but not many matches with which to answer them. So for now, I will go, and we'll see you in episode 22.